And we are live here Thursday morning at dirtyfour in the bank with your amazing host, Claudio Capri. Just before we get into today's episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So whether you're watching this or listening to this, please subscribe because amazing episodes are here and on the way. And, how's everyone doing? By the way, whether, again, you're watching this or listening to this, please leave a comment telling us, if you like this episode, if you agree or if you disagree. And, and things are just going to keep getting better from here. But just before we, get the episode going, today's guest is the amazing Alessandro Deluxe. He is on AEW Dynamite Review on Jofo in the Ring Wednesday nights at 10:15 p.m. So right after AEW Dynamite, the Jofo in the Ring, we go live and we talk about the review of the episode. We hear from Frank, Jofo, Selector Brew, and Alessandro Deluxe. We hear their opinions about the episode and the matches that they liked or did not like. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on Alessandro Deluxe. And if you're new to this, please subscribe. Again, whether you're listening to this or not, because this is going to be an interesting episode. Let's get down to it, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is, by the way, this morning's guest, sorry, because obviously this is pre-recorded, is the very funny and awesome Alessandro Deluxe.
Hey, Claudio.
Hey,
Hey,
how
thank
are
you for the
you?
introduction. I'm doing
Hey,
well. How are you?
Hey, not bad, not bad. I kind of messed up. I said it's tonight, but it's really going to be Thursday morning
All
because
good.
this comes out every Thursday morning. So, Alex, what do you have for us today?
Well, I mean, I'm just glad here to be back, talking about wrestling. That's pretty much all I do. So that's wrestling is everything for me. Just in terms of today, what wanted to cover a few topics that I think could be fun, where we can have a discussion. I get a chance to talk a lot more about wrestling, like I always do. Uh, I guess we should just run through the topics. That would be a good start. Would you say?
Sure, sure, sure. All right. So, what's topic number one?
So I thought it would be fun, like especially because I know in our discussions that we've had, me and you, Claudio, that we talk about wrestling, like what we like back then versus now and whatnot. But like I thought it'd be good to talk to look into our earliest pro wrestling memory. What's the earliest thing you can remember? And I'll just start. Like for me, I've been watching pro wrestling like it feels like forever since I was a kid, and for me, it's like the earliest memory is when I was around 6 years old or so. It's the build up to WrestleMania 12 at the time. It was Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels for the Iron Man match. I just remember seeing the highlights on TV and I was hooked. So like that was everything, and even the match too was like
Mm-hmm,
very
mm-hmm,
very incredible,
mm-hmm.
and that's where it started for me. Like it's been
Nice.
my childhood all the time. Like it's my brothers watch
Mm-hmm.
wrestling. It started
Uh-huh.
from my uncle too. Like I
Uh-huh.
owe a
Uh-huh.
lot of gratitude to him. So yeah,
Yes.
always
Nice,
watching
nice.
wrestling.
Nice, nice. And what was your what made you like that match? Like what were the highlights of the match or the particular night in general?
Well, I just like really liked the training videos that they did. They
Uh-huh.
showed Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels vastly different in their training regimen preparing for
Mhm.
this match, as it was
Mhm.
going to be
Mhm.
basically an hour long match where
Uh-huh.
the winner of the match would be the one who got the most falls, the most amount of victories in that time frame. So it was unlike
Mhm.
any other match that they've ever done at the time, and I just thought it
Awesome.
was interesting, like the way how serious it was being taken. Like Shawn Michaels training with I forgot his name, but they had really excellent production. I found with the so I just really wanted to see it, man. Plus, like Bret Hart, like you got to go for someone from Canada.
Yeah,
Us here,
of
we're
course.
located, we're in Montreal, Quebec, and Bret Hart,
Uh-huh.
Montreal means everything. So
Yeah.
like, you got to root for someone like Bret Hart. So
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure. All right, all right. Are there any other matches that made you go, "Wow, this is a must-watch"?
well, I was wondering, like, what about you? Like, what was your earliest memory that you can think of before
Well,
we get
okay.
to that?
Well, okay. So this is the thing, right? So during this recent lockdown, I've been following Jofo in the ring, and I've been talking to Frank a lot, and I've been seeing some of the guests that they've had, on their podcast, Jofo in the ring. But by the way, Alex Deluxe and I don't know if we mentioned, but we covered Jofo in the ring, AEW Dynamite Review, 10:15 p.m. Wednesday nights. But so I'm like, the more I was listening to what Frank was saying, and then with your knowledge of wrestling, I'm like, let me get back into, let me see some
Yeah, 'cause I know
WWE
it was like
stuff.
on and off for you. I know for
Yeah,
a while. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And then AEW came around, and there were some characters that that we both like. I'm like, oh, okay, so ex WWE. I thought AEW was another brand from A&W. I'm like, oh my god, A&W is actually going to be expanding to wrestling. Okay, that's what I thought. But then I'm like, oh no, it's all Elite
yes.
Wrestling.
Yes.
So to answer your question, what match stood out for me, because since you mentioned WWE, I'm gonna mention AEW. So I think we should go back and
Of
forth.
course.
For me, was when we had Jericho versus Moxley. It was when
Quake the
Jericho.
Lake, right?
Yes, that one,
Okay, the recent
that
one.
one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that one, that one stood out for me. That was, and I don't care what anyone says. I like Bloods Out. Sorry, Bloods and Guts. I don't know why I said Blood, but no, Bloods and Guts was really something. Was really wow. Okay, no matter a
Very
few
enjoyable.
moments, yeah, it was enjoyable. That's all it was. It was very enjoyable. It was tedious at few points on the match, but I'm like, hey, it was still a fun match for me. I again, I still enjoyed it, with the thumbtacks and Moxley. By the way, I'm really scared for John Moxley now, because I'm like, man, this guy's gonna have a concussion like somewhere down the
I
road,
hope
because he's
not,
all.
but yeah, he's gonna be careful. Like,
Yeah.
bleeding every week. He's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
headbutting.
Uh-huh.
Even if the headbutts maybe are not like as vicious as they could be, and for good reason. Like they're not like as like straight on
Yeah.
head to head headbutt, but still,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be careful. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, all right, all right. So
Yeah, and
what
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, please.
No, no, I was just gonna say, like, even I'm just like thinking as well for like wrestling memories. I know I mentioned WrestleMania 12, but
Mm-hmm.
like I grew up with two older brothers, so I'm the
Yes.
youngest one. But for me, what
Yeah.
always attracted, like, got me like interested in pro wrestling and watching is the tag team wrestling, and I always loved
Yes.
all the brother tag teams because I have two older brothers, and
Yes.
we always joked about
Mm-hmm.
being a tag team, beating each other up. We just need
Mm-hmm.
another brother. We could have had 2-on-2, but for me, it was like the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott
Yeah.
Steiner.
Yeah.
Those guys are like amazing,
Yeah.
fantastic tag team matches. Like
Yeah.
even as singles wrestlers too, after Scott Steiner, but like I gravitated to them. Even Harlem Heat, Booker
Yeah.
T and Stevie Ray. WCW tag teams, I love those. But even the
Yeah.
WWE too, the brothers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the Hardy
Mm-hmm.
Boys. After like
Mm-hmm.
when I got a little bit older, you
Mm-hmm.
know, amazing matches they had, the ladder
For sure.
matches, especially with Edge and Christian. Even though like it's funny at the beginning they build them as brothers, but they're not brothers. Edge and
No. Oh
Christian,
yeah. No. For
they're
sure.
just
For
best
sure.
friends. But
Yeah.
even
For
those
sure.
guys too were cool.
Yeah.
But even uh, not just like I guess brother tag teams was cool, but I know I mentioned them. I was gonna say for anyone listening, if you're sick of hearing me talk about Bret Hart, well, stay tuned. I'm gonna talk about some more, so deal with it. But
Perfect. You heard it here, folks.
deal with it. I'm gonna talk about Bret Hart a lot. But
Mhm.
so the Hart Foundation, like those are our guys. Like as I said, we're from Montreal. Be in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Bret Hart is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, and his whole family too. The Hart legacy, and I love them all. Like we had Bret Hart, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Davy Boy Smith, Brian Pillman, Jimmy Anvil Neidhart. Just that faction, amazing. Like that. That's like me and my brothers. The way I look at it, like that's what I want to be like when I'm watching, and yeah, I guess that's really. Oh, one more thing, one more
Mm-hmm,
pairing I
mm-hmm,
think that was really
mm-hmm.
cool to see was Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero, uncle and nephew. Like their interactions they had in WCW, and then when they became tag team champions in WWE, it was really cool moments. So like, it's all about the family for me, and I guess you can imagine I'm a fan of the bloodline now with Roman Reigns because that's really cool to see with the legacy of the Anoa'i family, the Samoan dynasty. You got Roman Reigns, you got the Usos. There's that whole family tree is like filled with amazing wrestlers: Rikishi, Umaga, uh, with Rosie from the 3 Minute Warning. Those guys, Alpha and Sika, of course, Roman's father and uncle. Uh, just wrestlers everywhere. Solo Sikoa and NXT. So like we got plenty more wrestlers to come from the Onoi family, and I just love family family wrestling, basically like families
Mm-hmm.
of wrestling. So yeah, huge fan of that.
Nice, nice. All right, cool, cool. Okay. So you spoke about the what's your favorite wrestling, but now you have to say one bad match. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe this exists.
One
Or
bad.
two, whatever you want.
Uh, hmm. I don't know off the top of my head. Like I didn't think of this, but I don't mean to bash him, but I'm not a fan of carrying crosses matches. Just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Korean. If you're
probably one
watching
of
this,
them.
or
Yeah.
yeah, if you're watching this or listening to this, you
No
know,
offense.
this is our opinion. But yeah, you know what? Because here's the thing. Because I saw Korean in NXT,
Yeah.
and I find he's okay. But you know what? Love him or hate him, his promos are very good. Him on the mic is phenomenal. He's
At
just
least it's something different and someone new. I'll
yeah,
give it like that. Like they're
yeah.
taking a chance on him. Like give him an opportunity. He was decent in NXT. Like still
Hmm.
not my favorite, but now I just thought of it. I think we were talking about this the other day. Worst matches, of course, the Fiend versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
Oh yes,
Was
I was
two
just gonna.
years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh my
bring that
god,
up. Yes, I was
last
gonna bring.
year. Yeah,
Yeah, I was excited to watch that match because
worst
I got
match.
hyped. Yeah, I got
But
hyped with that match, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me, find the Fiend's coming back because for me, that's what got me back into WWE, and I'm like, oh, okay, the Fiend is here because Bray Wyatt. The first moment he brought out
yeah,
the Fiend, it was, oh my god, this is actually something, you know I find it's like I find it's like, oh, it's like evolution of Kane, like evolution of Supernatural. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And then that dumb match that
yeah.
anyways,
But even in general, like with the Fiend, like I don't know why they made him lose to Goldberg. Like it just
yeah,
killed
I
killed his
know,
momentum. Like I get
yeah,
it, Goldberg had to be champion, but just like you just make Goldberg kill the Fiend, basically.
yeah. Or what was it?
Wasn't the best.
Who lit the original Fiend on fire?
It was Randy Orton as well.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, he lit him on fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
which was, yeah, um that was
it was
uh
pretty bad. It was pretty rough, and even the
yeah.
stuff after the segments with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton, that was rough to watch on
Yeah,
Raw. So
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. That was really rough to watch. But yeah, no, it was just a big hype to bring them back. And then after I see Randy kicking the Fiend in the face, and I'm like, all right, this
that
is
was the end of that. Yeah.
yeah, it was the end of that. And then sure, surely, no, shortly but surely, he got released. And is the Fiend gonna be coming back? Hopefully. But
I
hey.
think yeah, like it has to be either WWE or AEW, probably the only two companies that have the budget for him, and it doesn't really have a place. I think in AEW. I know we talk about this on air,
Yeah,
off air
yeah,
often, but
yeah,
yeah, that roster is overcrowded. Like he has to lead a faction, but I don't know. There's just not really a spot for him that where he's gonna fit. I think you already have the House of Black. That's not the same, obviously. They're but in that vein of like that kind of mysterious character and dark, broody kind of characters
hmm
that
hmm
might be too similar to what the Fiend and Bray Wyatt or Wyatt Six might do. I don't know if it's a good idea to put him in the group because he should probably be leading the group. I guess we could have a feud that might be good, but how long is that gonna be interesting for? So
yeah,
yeah, I think WWE would probably be the best fit for him to go back, and he'd get a big reaction, I'm sure. Like
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure,
you
for
fit
sure.
right back in where you left off, and we'll just pretend that never happened. WrestleMania.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, one can only hope. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, so Alex, what is next on your list that you have written down?
Yeah, well, I mean, just something I wanted to bring up.
Please,
I'll get into I think it'll be a fun thing to talk about favorite wrestlers and matches. But like
sure.
just recently, there was a pro wrestling documentary. I was surprised was featured in Montreal Film Festival Fantasia. The 2022 edition featured a documentary about called Out in the Ring, directed by Levey, and it was a film centered around pro wrestling, but through the lens of the LGBTQ plus community. So kind of you get the history of uh, that community's representation and misrepresentation. To be honest, like let's be honest, like for the past who knows how long, 50 years or whatnot, it's been pretty rough, pretty bad for them. Maybe only in the last 5, 10 years, it's kind of started to improve for them. But I think it was a really, really good film, worth checking out. Hopefully, I'm not sure if it's going to be available streaming or other platforms, but give it a shot. Google it, Out in the Ring. It was a very honest take. I like it. Started from the beginning, showing like the stereotypes that we all have about gay, lesbian wrestlers or just people in general, and I find that what's really interesting about this film, and this is something I've talked to some of our friends off air too. It's like pro wrestling to me, like really would be an interesting way to look at the history of the world. Like if you want to take someone who's an anthropologist, just really look at the history of events, the history of trends or whatever through the lens of pro wrestling, you'll see that wrestling like basically reflects everything, the good and the bad, like
Hmm.
for better and for worse. So
Hmm.
like really everything you can see, it's like there's an evolution of how we have these negative stereotypes that are just amplified like crazy because we know like pro wrestling in general, it's always about taking who you are and putting it to like level 10, 11, like taking who you are and just like boosting it up, right? So you can imagine if you have like a gay wrestler, like this guy has to be, I want to say crazy gay. I don't know what the hell that sounds like, but it has to be like every single thing that you think of, or at least society thinks of as at the time, in order
Hmm.
to fit that mold. So they
Hmm.
showcase that really well. That WWE is unfortunately because they were they're the biggest pro wrestling company or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, like
Hmm.
in the game and have been for a long time. A lot of discussion had to do with them. Uh,
Hmm.
a lot of bad stuff that they've shown, a lot of
Hmm.
tragics, like
Hmm.
scenarios, wrestlers that have committed suicide. Like they mentioned a wrestler named Canyon. He was in WCW and also in WWE. Um, he was a gay pro wrestler, and when the locker room found out, and even they told the story that when like the higher ups found out, they basically made him come out on television in a way. Like he ended up dressing like Boy George, started singing "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me," and then the Undertaker kicked the shit out of him. Like Undertaker destroyed him. He took a chair, smashed his head, and it's basically the message is saying if you come out, you're gonna get your ass kicked. So it's really like
Yeah, yeah,
intimidation. So and
yeah.
unfortunately, he committed suicide after Canyon. So like,
Yeah,
it's
but do you think Undertaker knew that this guy, this wrestler was gay ahead of time, or was he just like, hey, someone in the higher ups like, hey, just go out there and just beat the living crap out of him?
I'm sure he was probably just doing his job. Like I don't know, who knows?
Okay.
Like I haven't really looked it up, but
Uh huh.
I don't know if it's gonna be pretty if we do. But if I'm
No.
just guessing, it's like probably doing his job. He was told to do what he had to do,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, that's the culture at the time. Like
Yeah.
if you're different, you get punished for it. So,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, I do want to say that like it's not all like gloomy like that. The film, what I think is makes it worth watching is that I would say maybe without like giving it away for people who
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
it,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe the second half of the film or maybe like the last quarter of the film or so, or maybe I should say the second half because like a good part of it is talking about the history that's not very pretty and not happy at all, but it does
Mm-hmm.
give a silver lining. We start seeing the local independent promotions that are and the local wrestlers who are part of this community LGBTQ plus who started their own promotions. They're doing their own events and they're very inclusive. They're inviting wrestlers all different, anything though, whatever they are, like anyone's welcome. And you could see that, like, one for example is GCW. There's a wrestler named Effie, and he does his big gay brunch, hilarious name that he does, I think every year or maybe a couple times a year.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it does well. Like, I think I haven't seen it, I'll be honest, but I know of it. Every time it happens, I hear good things about it. I read up about it. There's some wrestlers that I know. uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's good that, like, where these wrestlers don't fit in maybe in the mainstream, like WWE or AEW, there is plenty of, like, especially now in the digital age that we live in, and something that the
Mm-hmm.
film covers a little bit, but then afterwards, and I'll come back
Mm-hmm.
to this, there was a
Mm-hmm.
panel of some of the wrestlers and as well as the director speaking about the film after the screening, which was cool to see. In this digital age that we live in, like, pro wrestling is so accessible. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about, okay, turning on your TV. Do you have the channel? It doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to subscribe to a TV channel. Just go on YouTube, go on
Yeah.
Facebook, go on Fight.tv, go on Twitter, go on Instagram.
Peacock.
Peacock. Yes, you're right. There's pro wrestling everywhere
Yeah.
and anywhere at your fingertips
Yeah.
from any device, your mobile
Yeah.
device, your laptop, your
Yeah.
iPad, your iPhone, whatever you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
No,
can get it
that's
everywhere.
yeah, no, and just to also
Yeah.
bring in what you're saying, it's good that there's a lot of wrestling, events, but at the same time, I find it's bad because you and I mentioned this off air. I'm like, oh, Alex, did you watch this? And like, oh no, I'm watching the other one, and
Yeah.
there's too much for as good
True.
as as good as it is for wrestling entertainment. There's too much of stuff going around. You
I
got
know
SmackDown.
we can't watch everything. I know,
We
but I
can,
mean,
we can.
at least it does give you a choice. So, like,
Yeah,
I find
exactly.
that, like, we don't have to. Although we do it every Wednesday, we watch usually AEW from start to
Yeah,
finish,
yeah,
Dynamite. But you
yeah.
don't always have to watch the whole show, right? Like, you can pick and choose what you want to
Yeah,
watch.
exactly.
You
Yeah,
DVR it, or you go on YouTube. You just find the clips
yeah,
that you're interested in.
yeah.
You don't have to watch all of the show. Maybe not everything interests you, but there's going to be
Yeah.
something that you like, and then you're going to
Mm-hmm.
follow it week from week, every
Yeah,
week.
for sure. Yeah, no, like for me, like like if I
Yeah,
can't watch Dynamite one week, I'm gonna watch Dark Elevation or Dark, just to
yeah.
say, and
I
listen, I
can't even
did my,
keep up with that.
I did my weekly watching on AEW, and there we go, or
Yeah.
Rampage sometimes, which I find Rampage, in my opinion, is a bit underrated. But hey, that's just me. Alex,
Yeah.
just before we continue, I just want to remind people to, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The like button is really cold, so just give it a blanket,
By the
like
way,
it,
actually, there you go.
share. If you're watching this or listening to this for the very first time, subscribe to Dirty4, and just share this, and Dirty4 in the bank. There are weekly interviews going from wrestling knowledge, such as Alessandro Deluxe, to actors, actresses, even local wrestlers. Local everybody is coming on here and just giving their opinions. And as I mentioned, we've got AEW Dynamite reviews 10:15 p.m. Wednesdays live on YouTube and other social media with Alessandro Deluxe, Frank Jofo, and Selector Brew. So this has been our picture-to-picture promo. All right, now back to the action,
All
Alex.
right. Yeah, just to circle that back to the film, Out in the Ring, the
Mhm.
pro wrestling documentary that came out in
Mhm.
2022 directed
Mhm.
by Ryan Levey. So that's the thing, like, pro wrestling is so accessible now. So it's great that for these wrestlers who don't get the mainstream opportunities, necessarily like other ones do, they can wrestle everywhere, anywhere, and people are going to hear about it. It's not like, obviously, you have to like pro wrestling in order to search out these people, but
Yes.
chances are you're going to see it on your Twitter feed if you follow, I don't know, I'll just mention some people from AEW, for example, Sunny Kiss, and I'll come back to Sunny Kiss. But if you follow
Mhm.
someone like Sunny Kiss, like her, um, these people are going to be following other people, so you're going to see them in your feed. So there's always a way to end up finding these people if we're all connected in that sense.
Yeah.
Um, so that's it, and I like that the film, like, puts a positive spin at the end. Not saying that we have a dark history, but it's getting better now. And one thing that they really highlighted, which I thought was really really well done, and just before I say that, to keep in mind that this film, like, the director Rai said at the end, is that it's a span of like 5 years it took them to in order to complete the film. Obviously, the pandemic slowed everyone down, but it was just in general like a lot of things changed. And even a good point that I believe Sonny Kiss mentioned is that a lot of people changed. Some people
Mhm.
transitioned. You know, they're going
Mhm.
through different things in their personal lives in
Mhm.
terms of gender identity,
Mhm.
sexual orientation. Like it could be many things. You know, like so keep that in mind. It's like the pro wrestling landscape changed, the film ends up changing, and even the people change. So
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so one highlight that they mentioned as really good is that AEW having the first transgender women's world champion in Nyla Rose. That's a
Yes.
really good, crowning achievement, I think, for transgender people in general at home who want to be in pro wrestling or maybe already are in pro wrestling. I think it gives some hope for them that they can be recognized, they can be signed by a major company, and they can even be on the top. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Nyla Rose.
and she's good in
She's
her role. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what, Nyla Rose, because when I first saw Nyla Rose, I'm like, I don't know what to think of the wrestler. And then she teamed up with Marina Shafir, which, and this is, again, because I see them on Dark Elevation and
yeah,
Dark
sure,
most
they're
of the
there a
time.
lot. Yeah,
And you know what? I find they're better on there than Dynamite or Rampage, in my opinion, because I just saw a match with them not too long ago, and it was actually a really good match. I mean, Marina Shafir, she takes slaps to the face and to the chest almost often, but Nyla Rose, she's doing the heavy hitting, the heavy action, and and that's just good to watch. And even on this subject, I don't know if we're gonna bring this up, but the acclaimed, the
yes,
acclaimed
good point.
are,
The Owens, yeah, and
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, if you don't mind, I'll just take
Go
this from
ahead,
here.
please,
Yeah, okay,
please.
perfect. So that's a very good thing that I had in my head that to bring up.
Mm,
One
hmm
thing that the film touched upon, and even this is a comment as well from one of the wrestlers that was part of the panel, named
hmm
Peril. He's
hmm
featured in NWA. He's been wrestling in Evolve in the past as well. Is
hmm
that, and this goes for Anthony Bowens, is that really the goal of the film is very simple, that there shouldn't have to be a film like this existing, in the sense that, like,
hmm
when you look at someone like a pro wrestler, for example Anthony Bowens, who we know is gay, he came out,
hmm
it should be that he's a pro wrestler who happens to be gay, not that he's a gay pro wrestler. Like, the fact that he's gay changes nothing in terms of what he is as a pro
Absolutely.
wrestler. Like, he's just good.
Absolutely.
Like, the claimed are awesome. Like, we talk about them often on the podcast on the Wednesday night Joe in the Ring, 10:15 on YouTube. There's my plug. Nice, perfectly timed. But yeah, Anthony Bowens and Max Caster are awesome together. Like, it
hmm
doesn't matter that he's gay. Like the scissor me daddy ass, that's hilarious, right? With Billy Gunn, and the Ass Boys, and like he's so charismatic on the mic. I think they're getting better in the ring. They have good chemistry as a tag team. They're putting on fun matches. I'm really excited for, just to tie it into this weekend, since when we're recording, All Out is approaching September 4th. AEW Dynamite, the Acclaimed have a tag team title match against Swerve and Our Glory, and I think win or lose, they're going to do very well.
Oh,
But
they are. They are.
yeah, and at the end of the day, doesn't matter that Anthony Bowens is gay, because he's great in his role and he's a good pro
Absolutely.
wrestler. He's good for
Absolutely.
AEW.
Yep.
So that's really what the film is trying to say.
hmm
Is
hmm
that someone like Peril too, who I'm not super familiar with, but just to give context, he's a huge guy. Like, he could take all of us. Like, he's freaking huge, this guy.
Like huge, like Keith Lee huge, or like actually like huge as in like Brody Lee
Yeah, I guess a
King.
bit, a bit of both. Brody King.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Brody King would be good. Yeah, that's a good comparison. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, he's tall, he's a big guy. Like,
Uh-huh.
he's the muscle. The powerhouse. He'll kick
Yeah.
all our
Yeah. Oh,
asses.
for
But
sure. For sure.
like, not one thing about him about his wrestling character involves him being gay, because it's irrelevant. Like,
No, exactly.
all
You know what?
he's a pro wrestler who happens to be
Yeah.
gay. That's really
Yeah.
what we're
You
trying
know,
to.
Yeah, and I just want to add something to this. Again, going back to what you're saying, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. You're like, and the same thing goes into acting as well, or comedy, because I
Yeah,
could we could plug this in everywhere, because again, in a way, it's a sort of entertainment. You're there to
right on.
play a character. So whether you're gay or straight in real life or whatever, you're there to play a character that has been written for you or by you, and whatever you're reading on paper, that's what you're representing. And that's why I find with no, that's why I like wrestling in a way, because not only are you trying to throw someone into a table, but at the same time, you're representing this persona, this character that
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
supposed to entertain for the people. Now, I just want to add something. Alex, is funny because I always brought up this film, and I did it in my movie review, which I will get back to it soon. It's called Cage Fighter. John Moxley, he fights an
Yeah,
MMA fighter, and if you don't know what the film Cage Fighter is about, I highly recommend that you go and watch this film. It's usually about MMA versus a pro fighter, and you see like the sides, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. But John Moxley is always the same character as he is in AEW, and it is great. Like, who know, again, like, we don't know these wrestlers off camera,
yeah,
besides what we read, but on camera, we expect him to be someone. I was about to say something. Well, someone that we like, that, well, I mean, not inspire. I mean, I don't want to be like John Moxley, always covering blood, but we want to watch that person because we like them for who they are, and that's what it is. Again, take your mind away from them being gay or lesbian. It's just entertainment.
yeah. And just another point, like we have
Yes.
Sonya Deville on SmackDown, who's
Yeah.
it's public. She came out as a lesbian, but I hate this. We could swear, right? Or
Yeah. Please go
no
ahead. Yeah.
swearing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Like
Those, you got
who
sweat.
gives a shit in the sense that who gives a shit she's a lesbian, because it doesn't affect her performance, it doesn't
Hmm.
affect her character, it doesn't affect like how she is portrayed.
Hmm.
And I mean that I should be careful to say when I say that who gives a shit, it's not that it's not important, but I mean it's not important in terms of changing my view on this person.
Oh,
The
yeah,
fact
absolutely.
that it has to be important because there's still the stigma is really an issue. Like
Yeah.
that's what they're like. Someone like Peril and other Sunny Kiss as well echoed the same sentiment. Is that eventually, right? They won't have to come out. They won't have to like say who they are, or like what they identify as or what they represent, because it'll just be accepted. But right now,
Mm.
it's important because there's going to be a kid out there. There's going to be someone who's like, unfortunately, depressed, going through a depression because society says you can't be whatever it is that you're going through. Like it's not acceptable. Like
Hmm.
there are people who are gender fluid. There are people who don't identify as either gender. So it's like,
Yeah.
and they're being told, no, it's not okay. Like you have to pick one. You have to
Oh,
be
yeah, yeah,
this. You have to
absolutely.
fit
Yeah.
into this mold. So, like really, that's why they have to come out. And like,
Yeah.
and they all echo this. Like if it were up to them, they don't want to, in the sense that like they shouldn't have to, but the fact that they do is part of like a healing process for them,
Yeah.
and it's also part way whether they wanted to have it or not. Like they're a
Hmm.
source of inspiration for other people, and
Hmm.
they have to embrace it. And good for them
Hmm.
for doing what they have to do in order to make themselves better, and also in this case inspire other people to get better. And
Hmm.
because like one thing that's brought up in the film is that oftentimes wrestlers who are gay, lesbian, or whatnot, like when they reach out to promoters to get booked, usually the response will be like, "Oh, we have the gay wrestler. Oh, we have the lesbian. We're okay. Like we just need one, and it's already filled." And it's like that shouldn't be an issue. It should be you should get booked if you're good. If you suck, you don't get booked. It's like you should
Yeah.
be booked based on your talent. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
like stigma like that. So
No, no, you're right on the money.
yeah,
It's but unfortunately, and even though when we think, oh, society is improving with this, we we think so, but who knows? There might be some people who are still not improving on this. People
yeah,
who
like
are still not acceptance. Yeah.
I think like just I don't know if we should go too far deep into this because we're
Go
not
ahead.
experts, but like just in terms of like pro wrestling, it's like baby
Uh-huh.
steps. Like
Yeah.
just you don't have to like. It's okay to be confused about it. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's not. You can say that I can say that it's not like the 100% like immediately right away. It's easy, no problem, okay. But it's like
Mm,
we're all learning, we're all humans, like we can be better together. So just be respectful rather, be patient, and just give things time. Like there's no room for hate in this
no.
world in general, in pro wrestling. Like just let people be who they are, be what they want to do, and like voice your opinion elsewhere for something else. Like don't be I would say don't be a Twitter troll for the sake of doing it. It's like love what you love, and then if you dislike something, that's okay. It's not your cup of tea. No worries. Just know that it's for someone
Absolutely.
else. If it's not for
Yeah.
you, it's for someone else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then like the LGBTQ plus community is important part of pro wrestling, and they can have their spot just like anyone else can have their spot. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's it. Just be respectful. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
all we could do. And
Yeah.
that's
All
what I think
right.
the film really hit home. And it was very much worth watching. So highly
Good. Good.
recommend it.
Good.
Check
Good.
it
Yeah.
out
What's
in the ring.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Perfect. Then I'll check that film out. And there we go. Before we go to the next topic, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe again. By the way, folks, I don't have a video for this yet. So eventually, we're gonna have a video for this. We're gonna be having some cool promos. And but for now, it's just gonna be me talking when there's promos because this is what it is, but it's gonna be a stepping stone. And I can't stress this enough. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, whether you're listening to this or watching this. We're here with Alessandro Deluxe, who is part of the Jofo in the Ring Wednesday night Dynamite Reviews 10:15, talking about the episode that they have. Well, I mean, we have watched. I mean, let's admit it, they, because I'm barely on because of stand-up comedy, so is Kyle Morn. But I'm plugging for Kyle and Easter egg. And they talk about the reviews, but this is fun. Wrestling is being taken seriously, and it's a, even though people say, "Oh, wrestling is fake," yeah, okay, it's like animals, like some accidents that could happen, even deaths. But there we go. So now we're gonna be back to the action with Alex. So Alex, do you have any other topic you would
Yeah.
like to cover? Yeah,
Something like I was thinking of doing them individually, but then I said, you know
sure.
what, just do them together. So
Go
I was
ahead.
like, dude, like I don't want to go through like a boring list of like my favorite wrestlers, favorite matches, but just a couple of
Mm-hmm.
things that I think matches and wrestlers that I'd like to highlight together.
Mm-hmm.
So big surprise, I'm talking about Bret Hart again. So here we
Bret
go.
Hart, people. His name is Bret and his last name is Hart. I don't know why I
Bret the
said it, but
Hitman
hey,
Hart.
there we
Yes.
go. There we
So
go.
he's definitely one of my favorite wrestlers, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
just Bret Hart, it's Owen Hart as well, both of them. And it's highly, like their matches against each other are highly recommended for sure. Bret versus Owen, but one of my favorites, I guess it's not a surprise, it's Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13, 1997. I think it was in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Like this is a match you have to see if you haven't yet. Claudio, please watch it.
I
Hope it's on
will.
YouTube. I'm not sure. I was thinking of trying to find these matches as well, and maybe eventually, if when we post this, we can put it in the comments, like the links for matches for people to check out if they're
Absolutely.
available.
Yes.
But this is like a classic match, and to me, this match shows like Bret Hart. Just like in general, he's really like praised for being a technician. Like he's an excellent technical wrestler. He knows all the holds, knows all the submissions, but like Bret Hart can do everything. Like this
Mm-hmm.
guy could brawl, he could wrestle, he could do any type of style like of match. Bret Hart would be able to adapt. Like I think, and this in this case, he has a perfect adversary, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who has the skills to be, has the training in the technical side. I guess you could say, I don't know if this is a stretch, but I think it's a good comparison. Moxley is very similar. John Moxley was trained by Les Thatcher. He knows the holds, he knows the technique of how to do stuff, but the style of pro wrestling that he likes is brawling. And Stone Cold wasn't much of a technician at this point. He was early in his career, but in this match, Bret Hart and Stone Cold, like they go all over the building. Then eventually get back into the ring. It's just then we have the visual at the end. I don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen it, but I'm sure once you see the ending of the match, you'd be like, okay, so that's where it's from. But just the ending of the match is just incredible. Um, it's a moment that I think will go down in history. It's probably like unforgettable for just about anyone, and highly recommend watching this match. If it's worth anything, it was rated 5 stars by Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer. But that's one man's opinion. But here's my opinion, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. So watch any,
Nice.
or just watch any Bret Hart match at this point.
Nice, nice. The link is here at the bottom. So if you want to see what Alex is talking about, just click the link and enjoy it. It's when Alex says it's a good match or a bad match, that's his opinion, and his opinion is important. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right, Alex, keep going.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
else?
So just going with the Hart themed
Yes.
matches. I mentioned Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
One match that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I could find this, but I can only find clips, and I do remember seeing this on TV when it happened. Like here, we're in Canada, where we used to watch Monday Night Raw, at least back in the day, on TSN on Tuesday afternoon on tape delay, and then Wednesday we would get Nitro as well. So like I remember seeing highlights of this match, and I'd love to find it. It's Owen Hart versus the British Bulldog in 1997 on Raw. I think it was in Germany or somewhere in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, because it
Mm-hmm.
was the European title tournament final match. It was the match to
Mm-hmm.
crown the first European champion. And this
Nice.
match, like, I know we've talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
as a kid, of course, we wanted to be pro wrestlers. Like, this, no
Yeah,
secret.
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely did.
Yeah, me
And
too.
if I were to want to be a pro wrestler and wanted to study a match to learn the basics, the fundamentals, it's going to be this match. Owen
Mm-hmm.
Hart versus British Bulldog.
Mm-hmm.
Owen Hart versus British Bulldog. There you go. Said it right. The reason being is because, for the most part, this match, they don't do anything too crazy. At least not that I can, from what I can recall. But everything they do is just done so well. The chemistry that they had together, Owen and Bulldog, it makes sense when you think about it because they were tag team. And at this point, they were actually tag team champions and they were wrestling each other in the finals, which is a very cool moment. And everything they did was just done so well. And so I know if I wanted to learn, I would learn from these guys. It just
Mm-hmm.
recently came up again this match. It reminded me on Twitter. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember who tweeted it out, and then we had Natalia Neidhart, obviously part of the Hart family through Jim the Anvil Neidhart's daughter, basically liked the tweets and echoed the sentiment. Like these guys were technicians at their time. Like they were so good at their craft.
Mm-hmm.
Just so exciting. Like again, they're not doing anything too crazy. Maybe by today's standards, it's not crazy, but just the near falls, like the false finishes, or they're so close. Like the reversals, fantastic overall, and definitely like we had, I would say, just a glimpse of this in AEW, a moment just to tie it back, where we had in the Owen tournament, one of the opening rounds, it was Dax Harwood versus Cash Wheeler, FTR wrestling each other. They obviously love the Hart family, Bret Hart. They took inspiration from so many Bret Hart matches, Owen Hart matches, and for sure they had to have taken some things from these matches, from this match in particular, Owen versus Bulldog. Just a master class of wrestling. Like let's like cut all the shit, cut the bullshit. Like this is pro wrestling. This is what you want to watch. Two people who are fighting for a championship. They're fighting for the ultimate crown. Like they're going to be the winner of this match would be the first inaugural European champion. So you're going to be in the history books as the first ever.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one first ever, right? So like that's the stakes. Like sometimes we say we need a story, we need a storyline. This guy hates that guy. No, no. In this case, no one hates each other. They're family. Like these people are family. Like they're in-laws. You know what I mean? Like like they're family and they're tag team champions. But the story is that it's friendly competition that maybe gets heated within the match. Like the story is the match where they're doing whatever it takes, pulling out all the high stakes, all the big moves that they can think of in order to try to win this championship. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pro wrestling at its best. That's the story. Sit back and enjoy if you can find this, and if you can, please let me know because I gotta
Mhm.
find.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Folks, leave a message in the comments if you could find this match. If you cannot find this match, and then we will happily give you the link. Especially when we watch Jofo in the Ring Wednesday nights at 10:15 p.m. All right, so okay, so so far this is intense. All right, so Alex,
I'm
what
glad.
other things you have for us?
So I'm gonna tie this one into like one of my favorite wrestlers. So the next match is gonna be a match from WCW,
Uh-huh.
Halloween Havoc 1997. I'm
Okay.
trying to remember. I think just like a funny little anecdote. Like we were kids, like for me and my brothers, like it was always like we had the Monday Night Wars, WCW versus WWE. But then when it came to ordering the pay per views, it's like, okay, we're not going to order both. It's kind of expensive. You have to imagine we're three kids. Parents can only afford so much. We can't spend so much money on pro wrestling after all, right? So it's like, which pay per view do you want to choose? And some months we would choose WWE or WWF at the time. Some months we would choose WCW. This is the month we chose WCW, Halloween Havoc 1997, and the match I'm referring to is Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. It was I believe, cruiserweight title versus mask match.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if Rey Mysterio won the match, he becomes the cruiserweight champion as Eddie Guerrero was the champion. But if Eddie beats Ray would have to unmask. And as a luchador, that's the ultimate sign of like you lost. Like the mask is your identity. That's everything to you in Mexico as a luchador. So very very much high stakes. Usually, this is like a variation of the classic lucha de apuestas match in Mexico, where it's
Mm-hmm.
a hair versus mask match, where the loser of the match would have to get their head shaved, or the loser would have to lose their mask. So it's a little bit of a variation on that. And Eddie Guerrero is one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Like you watch an Eddie Guerrero match, to me he has I don't know if it's like I want to say a chip on his shoulder when he wrestles, but he has a sort of aggression. Like to me when he wrestled, especially in this era where he was cruiserweight 1997, he wrestled like he was pissed off. Like he had like such an angst to him in everything that he did. He throws a clothesline, he puts like a little extra oomph to it. He throws a back elbow or a leg lariat or whatever brainbuster, especially his suplexes and his brainbusters were just so crisp and so impactful. Like you can tell that this guy knows what he's doing, and he's just so amazing at his craft. I guess you're gonna hear that a lot, but and then you have Rey Mysterio Jr. I don't remember how old he was at this time, but he must have been in his early 20s. And you think about him now, Rey Mysterio, in his 40s, and the things that he can do is just incredible. Like this guy's
Yeah.
a phenom. Like
Yeah.
still to this day, like it's still
Yeah.
amazing what he can do. Obviously, he's slowed down, but you have to imagine 21-year-old or 20-something-year-old Rey Mysterio flying all over the place. This guy is just amazing. The things that he could have done back then, and the moves that he just one of like the highlights of this match. I'm sure you've seen if you've watched any like compilation of must see moves or whatnot. There's like a moment in the match where Rey Mysterio does like a backflip DDT off the ropes, a moonsault into a DDT. It's just amazing match. Very short, very brief. If I'm not mistaken, maybe less than 15 minutes. I think it was like a 13-minute match, but there's so
Jesus.
much packed into this match, so much action. This one I know for sure is on YouTube. I know WWE put it on their YouTube page, and it's definitely one you need to check out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I believe it was also part of the latest video game, the WWE 2K22. You
Yes.
can do
Yes.
the
Yes.
showcase, which is really cool to
Yeah.
see. Rey Mysterio had a Riddler inspired outfit in purple, like it was like a bodysuit, and pretty much it's very iconic. So definitely check this match out. You won't be disappointed. Yeah, totally worth
Nice.
watching.
Nice. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Gotta watch it,
All right.
Claudio. I'm telling you.
I will. I will. I will. There's so many things to watch these
I know so
days.
many matches. Yeah,
It's
so
just
much
I'm
wrestling.
like, all right, like like you have to go within hours and hours of episodes, of storylines. You know. All right. So Alex, keep going on. What's next on the list for you, sir?
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully, no one's bored. But
No, no, no,
the
nobody.
next guy
No.
on my list is going to be favorite wrestler and also favorite matches. I'll tie them in.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Danielson, the American Dragon.
Brian Danielson, huh?
Yes, 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 yes. Daniel Bryan, Brian Danielson, whatever you want to call him.
Bryson Daniels, huh?
Was it Daniel Bryanson, right?
Is it? I don't know.
That's the famous name
you,
you gave
you
him.
know what? You know what? Before you continue, what I like about this guy is that the originality of his name was. What in WWE it was Daniel Bryanson. And now I'm gonna be Brian.
Yeah, well, that's his
His,
real name, Brian Danielson, and it's William Regal that gave him the Daniel Bryan. So that was a genius
that
way
was
to flip it
genius.
around.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, Brian Danielson. I've been following his career pretty much since I want to say almost since I started watching wrestling, but I should say maybe 2001 is the first time I heard of someone Brian Danielson. It was the King of the Indies tournament, 2001, highly influential tournament at the time. I saw my brother showed me a picture of him in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. You know, back then we had magazines, not so
Mm-hmm.
much anymore. They're not that popular, but this was a guy to watch, and yeah, like him everywhere he's been, honestly, he's been able to adapt. I know I talked about Bret Hart, but maybe Brian Danielson is possibly the ultimate wrestler. Like he can literally do it all in the sense that, likewise, masterful technician. You see him putting on a hold, he looks like he's gonna break your arm. He's gonna break your leg. He knows all the holds in the game, submission based, whatever you want to call it, jiu-jitsu, MMA style influence. He can break any bone in your body, and he can also kick your effing head off. You know, like he kicks your head
True.
in. Like his strikes are so impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, very excellent striker, excellent technician,
Mm-hmm.
pretty decent high flyer too. Like he doesn't do anything crazy, but you know he's not one to shy away from diving through the ropes, jumping off the top rope into crowds. Like he'll doing a flying diving headbutt. Like he can do that. And as we saw in Blood and Guts, or maybe not Blood and Guts, rather in Anarchy in the Arena in AEW, he can brawl. Like he can get into a scrap. You know, he'll be bleeding all over the place, you know, but he can get into a fight with chairs, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hardcore match, whatever you want to call it. So he can do everything. And I picked two matches, or maybe even three, whatever, who cares? We don't have a limit, right?
True.
Brian Danielson versus Kenta and from ROH. This would have been Glory by Honor, if I wrote it here, Night 2 in 2006. This is one of my favorite matches of all time. Uh, just the atmosphere of this match, where it definitely feels like a big fight feel. Um, you have Kenta, who's from Pro Wrestling Noah at the time, um, probably like the number one Japanese promotion at that time in 2006. Um, just watch this match because I wish I could find the words to express it, but just this is like everything to me. When I saw Daniel Bryan first in WWE, I was like, this can't be. Why can't he do what he's excellent at? I know he has to adapt, but like I knew Brian Danielson or Daniel Bryan as Brian Danielson, and to me this was like a little frustrating when I could see that he's doing. He is capable of these excellent matches, amazing matches, very underrated on the microphone too. I felt like um, when he first came into WWE, he was portrayed as a rookie as part of NXT at the time, and his pro was The Miz. This was 2010, I want to say 2011 or so, and that's just like a slap in the face to someone who's been wrestling all over the world. At that point, he had almost a decade of experience, maybe more, and like I know it's not all about putting on excellent matches, but like his title reign as the ROH World Champion, just legendary. Amazing match after amazing match, and this one is no exception. Danielson versus Kenta, amazing near falls, like false finishes. This is one where Danielson jumps into the crowd, like into like maybe a third, fourth roll, crazy dive off the top rope into the crowd. Um, Definitely go out of your way to watch this match, and even the whole show too. There's also a really good GHC title match that's from Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. Now Michi Fuji versus Nigel McGuinness. The whole show is worth watching, so go out of your way to see that one. Um, yeah, like Eddie Danielson match, I think is worth watching from that period of 2005, 2006, where he was ROH World Champion. Yeah, go out of your way to see it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and you should, ladies and gentlemen, because take Alex's word when it comes to wrestling. Nice.
And just to continue with Brian Danielson, there is one
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Bryan match that I think is definitely worth watching, and I find it's a special match, and that's 2012 Over the Limit was for the WWE title. It was Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
This match to me is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that it was an excellent match, just like in
Mm-hmm.
ring, you watch the match, very very good. Just in terms of what this match meant, because you had two people who really, at the time 2012, they're not like, how can I say, they're indie guys. That's what they were looked at. Like, oh, these guys came from ROH. They don't really know how to work WWE style. They're not very good. They're not this. They're not that. They're not huge. They're not bodybuilders. They're not this. They don't know. They can't cut a promo like a WWE style promo, but they definitely could do all of that and more. And in this match showed that they were so excellent. I found the storyline with them wasn't the best in terms of like they were fighting over AJ Lee, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk, but we'll just ignore that. But this match is significant because you have basically, I would say that you would had two people who should have been signed at the same time earlier. Bryan Danielson, I should say, was signed by WWE multiple times and fired and released, hired again, released. Like, so his history is a bit complicated, but this is a match that like it could have happened 5 years before in WWE. It should have. Like it happened in 2012, but like they should have been feuding for years at that point, if you ask me.
Mhm.
But finally, they got the chance to do it on the big stage because there was an excellent, a really cool meme of showing Danielson or Brian Daniel. I can't even say it right. Daniel Bryan. You confused me, Claudio, but you have a point. Brian, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk shaking hands before their match in WWE, and then years prior in 2004 when Brian Danielson and CM Punk shook hands at ROH, and you just have like, this is finally they made it to the big stage. They're fighting for the WWE Championship. It doesn't get like much better than that. I believe they're in the main event, or if not the co-main event. But excellent match. Means so much in terms of I think changing the perception of pro wrestlers at the time. You think of a match like this. This leads to other people being signed by WWE or other people being highlighted. You have Seth Rollins coming in a few years, or it was Tyler Black in ROH. Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro. John Moxley is an indie guy as well. Like even though he's not an ROH, but you have these kind of wrestlers coming in. Kevin Steen, El Generico, representing Montreal guys, right? But you have these guys coming in who are definitely only able to be signed because CM Punk and Brian Danielson, opened the doors for them and pretty much kicked the doors down because I think they excelled way more than I think people thought they would have, and rightfully so. Helped everyone else helped everyone else get an opportunity because all the other names I mentioned, they're great in their own way, right? But I mean, it's not like Brian Danielson and CM Punk did the work for them. It's just you have to change that perception where it's saying that indie guys, ROH guys, people outside of WWE, not the regular mold of wrestlers, can excel and will succeed, can be champions, will be at the top. So definitely this match is, I think, really important for that significance. So that's why it's a favorite of mine because I watched this match with a smile on my face. I remember watching it like, really good action, but also knowing what it meant. I was like, yes, no pun intended, but yes, 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 Daniel Bryan. Like this is the match that I wanted to see. And I'm so happy it finally happened in WWE. And I know I've been talking but a lot, but just to tie this in, I do hope they wrestle each other in AEW. Now we have the chance. Brian Danielson versus CM Punk. I think it would be a fun match. I don't know if people want to see it. Maybe it's just me, but I think it could work. Um, I do think like you have CM Punk. You obviously had the John Moxley CM Punk match. Maybe we'll get a rematch at All Out as we're filming this close to All Out on September 4th. But just to think of it, like I think CM Punk feuding with the Blackpool Combat Club would be very entertaining television. Um, you're gonna have great promos with Brian Danielson and CM Punk. It would give Claudio Castagnoli a good chance to be in there and improve his promo skills. I think he's doing well, but like going up against someone like CM Punk, I think would do him wonders. Maybe even Wheeler Yuta, why not? But I'd love to see William Regal and CM Punk like just go at it on the mic. That would be entertaining
Yeah,
television.
I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be something. That would be entertaining
yeah.
to
Because
watch.
there's a lot of respect, but I think there's also like you know angst, and CM Punk always had a chip on his shoulder. He's always been like like he's good and he knows it and he'll freaking tell you. Like he won't shut up about it. Like you can't blame it. CM Punk means I'm better than you, and that's the
No,
truth. Like,
no. The only the banner for I'm better than you is MJF is I'm better than you and you know it. No,
but
I'm
that's
kidding.
CM Punk though. CM Punk, that was his line. Like straight edge
Mhm,
means I'm better than you. It's kind of a
mhm,
play on CM Punk.
mhm,
MJF, super
mhm,
CM Punk
mhm,
fan, but
mhm.
that's the thing. Like Punk was never shy to say how good he was, and he had a point. Like he is even now. I think it's debatable for sure. Like if his comeback, but I think his comeback has been a success personally.
Mhm.
Um, but that's it. Like I'd love to see a rekindle of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. Like this is indie. Like this is the indies. Like 20 years in the making. Like maybe almost 20 years in the making. It would mean something, and definitely I hope to see it in AEW. That's the place. Tony Khan is a huge ROH fan. He has the library. He owns the company, so I'm sure he would be, definitely willing to do something like this.
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he would, and I hope AEW comes to Montreal as well because that'll be a
Yes.
night or two nights that that we will never forget as well. Hopefully. All right, so Alex, let's go into the next list. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long we should make this, but I'll just finish Brian Danielson at least. There's
Oh,
just
yeah,
one
yeah,
one
okay,
more
yeah,
one more
yeah.
match to, and then I'll shut up about Danielson.
No problem. No, go ahead, please.
I don't know if it's gonna be surprising, but I think it's a recent one. Like it's his first
Uh-huh.
match in AEW. Kenny Omega versus Brian Danielson,
Yes, I remember
Arthur
that.
Ashe Stadium, sometime in September in I believe last year. 30-minute draws, and I'm not a
Mhm.
huge fan of draws. Like I like to see winners. Like
What are
winners.
draws? Oh, okay, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
when
never
no one
mind.
wins. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
there was no
Yeah.
one winning, no winner, no loser.
Mhm.
But in this case, I think it was the best decision you could have done at the time. Um, I think for years everyone's been wanting to see this match. They did have a match one time in PWG, I think in 2009. That's an indie
Mhm.
in California where the Young Bucks basically made their name.
Mhm.
PWG, I believe it's either owned or co-owned by Excalibur
Mhm.
from AEW. So they had a match in 2009, but it was kind of like a joke match because that like it's an indie match, so it's not like it wasn't a serious match. Still entertaining, but a different kind of match. But this is the match that people wanted to see: Omega versus Danielson, and they delivered. Holy crap! Like they just went at it, 30 minutes. Like I said before, Danielson would just like kick the shit out of you, and he wasn't afraid to do it. And Kenny Omega is, I think, there's a lot of debate. Is he the greatest, ever or greatest of our generation? But he's definitely up there. Like you look, his move set is so explosive. His V trigger, everything he does, his Snapdragon suplexes, his one winged angels, like he's so Kenny Omega moves so fluid in the ring. I find and
Mhm.
hopefully he can get back to it. We just saw him come back as we're filming this near All Out weekend in 2022. Uh, Kenny Omega just came back for the trios tournament from AEW when they're introducing the new titles, and he joined rejoined the elite with the Young Bucks. And so far we haven't seen that old Kenny Omega yet, and obviously we got to give it time. The man had a million injuries, and he's been working hurt forever. Like apparently, it could be a year or two. He's been just taping up the injury. That's the old pro wrestler way, which is not always the best thing. It's like you're hurt, but you don't want to lose your spot. So instead of getting the surgery, instead of doing the rehab that you desperately need and your body desperately needs, you just tape it up, ice it up, boom, boom, you're done. Off to the next match, and then more pain. So you give the man a break. I think we're definitely going to see shades of the old Kenny Omega. Um, Unfortunately, I think he put a lot of pressure on himself, and maybe the fans are putting a lot of pressure that maybe he feels like he can't, live up to it. But I think he just needs to go out there and do what he always does. I think I'm just happy to have him back, Kenny Omega. I think he brings a little extra. Something it was something that AEW was missing. Like we had like all these injuries that were like plaguing the roster for the past summer. At least we get someone back. So with that said, Kenny Omega and Brian Danielson just vicious like match where they're just beating the hell out of each other. It was exactly what I wanted to see, and why it's important to me is because Like I said, I enjoy Daniel Bryan. Like Bryan Danielson as Daniel Bryan in WWE, he did excellent. Like with the Yes Movement happened in like 2014 when he won the WWE and the world titles. Like I'm not gonna be shy to say it, I cried. Like this was an incredible moment. Like I knew the work that he put in to win those titles to finally be, even though that wasn't the first time he won the a championship in WWE, the world title. It was to me the first time where I knew, okay, he won the titles and he's the guy. He's not just, oh, we'll give him a world title just because we have two of them. Might as well give him one. It's like, no, no, no. He's being chosen to be the actual champion, someone to represent the company. Um, so Daniel Bryan was great. But the thing to me is that I never understood is that Daniel Bryan was always positioned as an underdog most of the time because he was a smaller wrestler when you compare it to other competitors in WWE. He's not the tallest, he's not the biggest. I mean, at one point he was feuding with Mark Henry and Big Show, so go figure. He's definitely going to be the little guy. He's going to be the underdog. That in that case, I understand. But with this match, Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, it reminded me that Daniel Bryan is not the underdog. This is the guy who controls matches. He's the one that's going to dictate the pace of matches because he's so damn good at what he does. And that reminded me that Daniel Bryan is an underdog, but Bryan Danielson will kick your effing head off. Like, that's what it reminded me, and I loved it. And I'm glad to see the American Dragon back again in AEW. To me, this is the type of pro wrestling that I know that he excels at. Even though I said he could do everything. This is like my favorite version of Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan as a wrestler. Right now, as the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, this is the type of wrestling I love to see. And I imagine with the way they put it, where Bryan Danielson came in his first match with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was the champion at the time, the AEW champion, but it was a non-title match. At the same time, you didn't get a winner or loser; it was a draw. So it definitely leaves the door open for an eventual rematch. Maybe it will be for the title because I can definitely see Kenny Omega. He could be a repeat AEW champion. I totally see that. And maybe Bryan Danielson one day could be AEW World Champion, but I don't even think he needs the title at this point. But just to see that match again, I would definitely look forward to it. So let's hope at some point we hit Omega Danielson 2 in AEW.
That will be something. That's gonna be something that I'd like to watch.
Yeah,
But you know what? With so much history here, it's like, oh man, and then again, then people are like, oh, whatever, wrestling is just entertainment. But the way you bring it out is just more. It's more than that. It's personal, if I could say the least. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's a simulated fight, combat, whatever you want to call it. But man, like
Mhm.
it's like you get caught up in anything. If you watch a really really good movie, the story is good, the action sequences are awesome. Like you're invested. The
Mhm.
time that you're spending watching that, you're so invested, you're hooked. It's like you forget even that you're watching a film, in the sense that you want to see what happens next. Just like a good pro wrestling match, a good pro wrestling storyline, it's like you can't wait for the next week, or you can't wait to see that match that's coming up, that's being built for the pay-per-view, or for, let's say, the next week's show. And then when you're watching the match, you're caught into the drama. Someone has an injury. That's like one of the best things, like especially now with Bryan Danielson. Just to I gotta mention another match. Screw it. Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson, the match they had recently, not the 2 out of 3 falls. That was very good. I liked it, the House of the Dragon, but the one prior where Daniel Garcia beat Bryan Danielson, like it was so good because you had Danielson coming back from his injury, his concussion that he experienced from Anarchy in the Arena, that he received the concussion from, and he comes out all guns blazing, like just like drop kicking Garcia like 1,000 miles per hour, just kicking the shit out of him for the first 5 minutes. But then you get the story where he does a drop kick from the top rope, and then it's like Danielson is laying down. It's like, did he come back too soon? Did he re-injure himself? And you have that drama. It's like you get caught up into that because you have real life injuries coming into play in the storyline, and it's like, is it real? Is it not? Is he really hurt? Is he going to be okay? So it's like pro wrestling is like any good story of any novel, any film, maybe any song too that takes you on a journey. It's like just sit back and enjoy. That's the best thing I could say.
Nice,
Love it.
nice. Yeah, no, these are definitely matches to check out. Speaking of music, Alex, so now I believe you want to mention that you want to talk about certain theme songs of
Yeah.
wrestlers. Yeah, all right. So let's get into the action. Alex, take it away.
Sure. So yeah, I just thought it'd be cool to go through we could go through it together, our favorite entrance themes. Some I know that you're gonna really like. I'll start with the first one because I know you really like the wrestler, but it's not the theme song that you think. So it's gonna be Shinsuke Nakamura, but it's not his WWE's theme song. It's gonna be his New Japan
Yeah,
theme song that I believe is
yeah,
called Subconscious.
yeah. It is. It's called
Yeah,
some. Some. I mean,
this
personally,
song. Yeah,
yeah, no, I mean personally, I prefer the WE version
yeah.
song, but yeah, but subconscious is still good, and it's still impactful. Yeah,
No, I love this song. Like to me, it gets me pumped. Like when I hear it, like that's the thing I find that with entrance songs, music, like the factors that I put is like, is it a good song for the wrestler, and also is it a good song to listen to on its own? And I find this
Mhm.
song it sounds great. Like forget that forget the fact that was a theme song for Nakamura. Just take the song isolated on its own. This is something I would listen to. I just so many great melodies. Like I think it's no secret I play guitar. Hey, what are these behind me, right?
A green
so,
screen with guitars.
so like I love music, I love pro wrestling. I listen to it. Like this is a song that I want, like made me want to pick up my guitar and want to learn it. So like that's the kind of song that it is. I love it. Um, I think it fits Nakamura well. Um, it definitely did during his New Japan run. I'll just run briefly. Like whenever I think of this song, I think of great matches, and I won't go into detail, but I think of Nakamura versus AJ Styles at Wrestle Kingdom, um, Nakamura versus Kota Ibushi, also from a Wrestle Kingdom. I think that was Wrestle Kingdom 9. Um, Also Nakamura and the Tanahashi, the G1 finals, I believe, 1 year. So like that's what I find when hearing these songs makes me think of amazing matches. So it makes me think of the wrestlers and it makes me think of those feelings that I had when I watched those matches. And even another match I just thought of Nakamura versus Kevin Steen was Kevin
Mhm.
Owens now in WWE in ROH, World War of the Worlds, 2014 at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York. So yeah, I love this song Nakamura. Like
Nice.
this is a song like I would totally prefer it over his WWE theme, but I mean, I think his WWE theme is fun to sing. Like
Yeah.
just to say, like we were there. So me and Claudio, we went to the recent WWE SmackDown August 19th in Montreal, the Bell Center, and we had a dark match, so a match just for the crowd, and Nakamura was there. I was there with you, Claudio, singing Nakamura's song, even though it's not my personal favorite.
But it's still
I was
good
right
enough,
there with
and
you. Yeah.
yeah, no, it was good. It was good history in the making together. Okay, okay, and oh man, those were good. All right, so what's your next song that you
Yes.
wanna?
So
Yeah.
another one, again, it's not a. I'll get to. There's some WWE ones I like, but this is probably like my favorite theme song. Like I want to say of all time, probably because the wrestler is one of my favorites too. That's Kevin Steen, who's Kevin Owens now in WWE, but this is his ROH theme song. It's called "Unsettling Differences" by Blue Smock Nancy. This song to me is like the perfect song for this wrestler, Kevin Owens.
Mhm.
Anytime I hear it, I think that this guy's gonna come out and he's gonna destroy you. Like when Kevin Owens was Kevin Steen in the Indies and in ROH, like it wasn't fight Owens fight, it was kill Steen kill. That's what he had on his T-shirt, and that's exactly the mood that I get when I hear this song. I just feel like there's gonna be a fight, like I'm gonna see Kevin Steen come out and he's gonna murder his opponent, like no, in the ring, right? Like he's gonna destroy him, and this song perfectly encapsulates that. Um, I enjoy his WWE's theme song. I think it works well. It's not the same though as this song. Like part of me wishes, hey, they could somehow license this, but it's okay. I have those matches, those memories, like with this song, and like just to name a few, um, Kevin Steen versus El Generico, who is Sami Zayn right now in WWE. Ladder War ROH Final Battle 2012. This is a match you would enjoy, Claudio. It's a crazy hardcore match. It's called Ladder War, so you can guess there's a bunch of ladders, but they like destroy each other with such like they're very unique spots, unique moments with the ladders, and the finish of the match is just I don't never want to take that move. Kevin Steen's old finisher was a package pile driver, and I won't spoil it, but yeah, like that match, that finish is just a brutal match, and this song is perfect, like for Kevin Steen, for the mood that like when he comes out of the ring, like this is what it sets you up for the match that you're about to see. Like he means business. Like he's not joking around. Like Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, he's a versatile entertainer, wrestler, whatever you want to call it as well. Like he can do good comedy stuff. Like he has funny moments, um, but he can also be serious, like dead serious. Like this guy is not kidding around. You better run when he comes out, and that's the feeling I get when I hear this song and I think of Kevin Steen coming to the ring. Run for cover because he's gonna kill you.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and what's the next one?
The next one I'm gonna go with because I made a huge list just to prepare, but something that we talked about, and I'm glad that maybe it's gonna. Who knows? Maybe it could come back. Drew McIntyre, his Broken Dreams theme,
Yes, yes, yes,
the
yes.
chosen one in WWE, and this is like I touched upon it before, but I'm gonna think. I think this is the perfect example. This song is a great song on its own. Like I can listen to this and let's say I never watched pro wrestling, just knowing my musical taste, I would think this is a great song. Like something I would want to listen to. Um, very catchy, very enjoyable. Just the intro is very moody. Uh, really hooks you in. Finally, when the band full band comes in, it's like and the chorus, out of time, say goodbye. And like, I'm hooked when I hear the song. I think at the time when he had the song, I don't know if it fit him super well. I'll be honest. Like he was the chosen one. I don't think he did much. Like unfortunately, he never really got. He did become intercontinental champion at the time, Drew McIntyre, but and then unfortunately he got released. Not too long after, I believe. I don't know. He was in three man band, 3MB, which was fun, but that's then another story, another group. Um, the thing is, though, is that now as we're recording this, there's a big match in WWE coming up with Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns at the Cardiff show. What is the pay-per-view called? Clash of the Castle. I just remembered. I'm thinking out loud over here. But we have Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, and he's been teasing on Twitter, McIntyre, writing the lyrics to the song that he may come back with this song for the show, which I think would be really really cool if he did. I think it may confuse some people because they're not familiar with the song, having seen Drew McIntyre's first run WWE. However, I'm just gonna. Oh, it looks like Claudio. We lost Claudio, so I guess I'm talking to myself. So hopefully, you viewers, if you're listening to me, I just heard Drew McIntyre. Oh, hey, Claudio's back. All right.
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead. What were you
Yes.
saying?
Glad you're back. I was just saying that Drew McIntyre has been teasing that he may use
Mhm.
this song in the big match that he has coming up against Roman Reigns at Clash of the
Nice.
Castle. He's writing on Twitter the lyrics. He's been saying in interviews that this is something that would be really cool moment, especially in Cardiff, not his home country, but it's pretty much close enough. It's not Scotland, but it's Wales, and definitely would really be a cool moment. But I think the good way to do it is that to start with Broken Dreams and then lead into his current song. So maybe they don't have to do the whole song, but just like you have it as an intro to his current song. So
Yeah,
just so that like you get to use it, but then it still reminds people, hey, it's Drew McIntyre.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay.
So yeah,
All right, all
on that.
right. Yeah, no, it's actually a really good one. All right, Alex. Next one.
So I have so many. I won't go through them all, obviously,
All
but
right. Yeah.
better to over prepare than under prepare. But
Yeah. I mean, let's have two more, and then after that, there we go.
okay, yeah, yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Go
Um,
ahead.
so one song that I'm gonna mention that maybe not a lot of people are gonna be familiar with, but it's gonna be a song from Japan, Japanese wrestler
Mm-hmm.
Hayabusa, and it's gonna be his FMW theme song called "Fight
Mm-hmm.
with Dream."
Mm-hmm.
Just a little context of who Hayabusa is or who he
Mm-hmm.
was as he passed away a couple of years ago. Hayabusa is probably one of the most influential, like I think, junior heavyweights, cruiserweight wrestlers of all time. Um, he had a mask on, like if you know the the current wrestler Bandito, who's been in ROH, he's been in Impact as well. His mask is heavily inspired from Hayabusa. Um, but like this wrestler was so athletic. The moves that he could do were just incredible. He's the
Mm-hmm.
innovator of the Phoenix Splash. We see someone like Seth Rollins do that a lot, low key as well. Twisting 450 splash, shooting star press, like so agile in the ring. Just maybe not everything always executed perfectly, but hey, it's pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You get one take. It's not like it's a film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this wrestler is just incredible. I always loved him as a kid. Like I didn't watch too much of him as a kid, but I did see clips afterwards. When YouTube started, and as well, I was used to see some matches on the Fight Network at the time. Just started in like 2005, and they would show FMW matches like at midnight or 3 a.m. I either tape them or try to stay up and fall asleep watching them, but I caught some of it. Um, but what I think this theme song really like why I enjoy it is because this song it sounds so inspirational. You listen to it, you sound so motivated. Like I feel like you could do anything. I can do anything when I listen to this. It gives me chills when I listen to it because I think of the wrestler and I also think of like unfortunately Hayabusa had like there's a tragic accident in the ring. We were talking about this earlier where we say pro wrestling, people say it's fake, it's all fixed, yada, yada, yada. But accidents happen, people get hurt, even if it's fake or not, right? Hayabusa was trying to do a lion salt, like Jericho's springboard moonsault. He slipped, this was in 2001, and he broke his neck and he was paralyzed from the waist down, or from the neck down, I guess, for like the rest of his life just from a move that he's done thousands of times. He would do it so flawlessly, so smoothly. Every time he would do a springboard, like he would do it perfectly. Just that one time where his foot slipped and then he landed on his head, and then it's very gruesome, like injury to watch. And he was paralyzed, and afterwards he did find mild success. Like I think he was doing like I think he started singing. He started doing some music afterwards. And there's a moment at one point, I can't remember the year, but he comes like Hayabusa comes to the ring in a wheelchair, and then he walks aided with not crutches, but I guess like something to help him, and like he walks to the ring with the aid of these devices, and like there are people in the crowd, like they're crying, like it's so emotional to see this wrestler like who struggled, who had that unfortunate injury, but who like had those so many memorable moments and matches. And I'll just mention one briefly if I can squeeze it in. But so many memorable, like so many emotions that this wrestler made the crowd feel. And like you see women and children and men too crying in the crowd just to see him walk to the ring and just to get applauded from like an applause, sorry, from the roster. It's just like one of the most like beautiful, like amazing moments in pro wrestling. Like we talk about like matches and promos, but like sometimes things like this will like be the most memorable things you can think of in pro wrestling. It's not so much more about fake fights for people who don't follow, who don't like what we enjoy. It's like you get moments like this that are real. Like this is someone's real life, like what he had to endure, and like just sharing that moment in the ring, what it means for him to be able to walk. He'll never be able to wrestle again, and unfortunately he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. But man, just to hear that applause from the crowd, and just maybe, and I don't know if what he said, I believe he said something, I never looked it up, but like I didn't have to, like I understood, like I felt the emotion. So that's like pro wrestling transcends everything in a way. So that's always the bottom line. Pro wrestling transcends, it means everything. But just one match, if you have to check out from Hayabusa, it's not going to be the most technical and maybe the best showing of his ability, but it's must see for so different reasons. And this is the match that I think Kenny Omega and John Moxley wanted to have with the exploding barbed wire death match. So this is the one that I know. I think it's the only one I've seen, but it's from 1995 or 96. Hayabusa versus Atsushi Onita exploding barbed wire cage match. Onita is the wrestler that like Moxley loves, like I'm sure inspired him. Onita came out to Wild Thing just like Moxley does, the same version, the X Japan version, and this match is like it makes no sense. It's barbed wire cage match. Like, what kind of athletic commission would sanction a match where there's barbed wire everywhere, two people are in a cage, it's rigged with explosives, and after I think 10 minutes, the whole ring explodes. Who in their right mind would sanction this match?
That is a just by the sound of that, it sounds amazing.
It's like why? Like, come on, it makes no sense. Like, pro wrestling is
The-
stupid, and I love it too. But it's like I have to admit it, it's so crazy. But
oh
here's the
my
thing:
god.
like, if you watch this match, the only spoiler I'll say is that the ring actually blows up. It's not like at AEW, unfortunately, with Moxley and Omega with the sprinklers. Like, it's not a botch. Like here, you could see like it's crazy. Like it's worth the anticipation, and because there's no ropes, right? They're very limited because it's a cage, but there's no ropes. I should have said, and they can't, go back and forth. It's like they build it up really well with a freaking headlock. Like that's the anticipation. Like it's
Mhm.
Hayabusa and Onita trading headlocks at the beginning, and as soon as they go anywhere near the cage, like the crowd just gasps. It's like, oh my god! Like the first person who's gonna hit this cage is gonna like blow up. It's gonna be like fried because it's an explosive. So they built that up really well, just the anticipation. Then when it finally happens, it's like, my god, these two people, they fall like they just collapse. It's just incredible. Just this match is worth it alone just for the visuals, I would say. Definitely
Nice.
watch it. Like you would love it, Claudio. I think.
Just by you know what you had me at blowing up the ring. You had me at that. I mean, I don't care about the barbed wire. It's just that explosion
Yes,
of
it's worth
this.
watching.
Oh man, that is amazing. That is epic. And you know what? If you get injured for this, it's epic because it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a moment that people will never forget. Like I'm talking about it now. It happened in 1995. Like
Oh,
it
for sure, for
inspired
sure.
inspired AEW to do it. Like,
Yeah, well, for sure, it's inspiring. I mean, like blowing up a ring. How often do you hear that shit?
you gotta have the budget for that too. That's the thing, right?
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah. Don't worry, don't worry. One day when I'll do a comedy show, I'll actually no, it's not
Blow
gonna
up on
sound.
the set.
Actually no, it's not gonna sound right when I put it. When I put it in
Yeah,
that kind of context. But yeah,
it's okay. Pro
uh,
wrestling, it makes sense. Don't worry.
yeah, exactly. Everywhere else, you just be like, bro, we need to call police, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, pro wrestling. What cops? So what do they do? If the cops come out, Ronda Rousey's gonna kick their asses, like we saw
Exactly.
on
Yeah.
SmackDown
Yeah.
recently in
Exactly.
Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Just to add away what you were saying, favorite theme song, one of mine is Bray Wyatt's from WWE when he
Yes.
was in a cult, in the
Okay.
cult family, and then obviously when he became, and I mentioned this at the beginning, um, the famous Fiend. To me, that that's well, I was about to say inspirational. It's really not, but
You asked, right?
yeah, for sure. But I like it because I enjoy just a story, just this cult, the story that you're seeing a cult man, and then from that it transitions into him being the Fiend, which actually makes sense from going from the cult to this demon.
Yeah,
Um,
the remix version of the Fiend was pretty
yeah,
cool.
exactly,
They,
exactly,
they
exactly.
kept
But
it, but they it
yeah.
evolved. Like you were saying, like the character evolved, so did the theme song. So it
Yeah,
was
exactly. And and by the way, if you don't know the story of Bray Wyatt's The Fiend, I encourage you all to check it out because it is intense. Just the story itself but obviously, WWE botched it at the time. So hopefully when he
yeah.
comes back, it'll be better.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's it. All right. So Alex, anything else you want to add to this?
I guess I'll do the last one. You said the
Yeah,
last team? Yeah. Okay,
sure.
so last one, again, it's going to be from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kenta Kobashi is All Japan theme song, Grand Sword. Just very briefly, context Kenta Kobashi is probably the greatest Japanese pro wrestler, maybe one of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, in my opinion. Amazing. If you don't know who he is, just Google him, please. Uh, just incredible athlete in terms of like very impressive, like what he can do given his size. He's not a small guy. He's a pretty, I would say, like yeah, I wouldn't say he's a huge guy either, but I mean, like this guy could do moonsaults, but he could also like chop your head off, like chop, like he would beat the hell out of you. Like his famous thing is like a lariat, like a clothesline, but like he would, give you a vicious clothesline, burning hammer, which is a crazy finishing move. Please just Google Kenta Kobashi and burning hammer, amazing move. Similar to Bianca Belair's KOD. That's kind of a play off of burning hammer, just to give you context. But like hugely, highly influential wrestler, rather like to I think many people in the current generation of wrestlers. Um, He's won numerous titles in Japan, like Triple Crown title from All Japan Pro Wrestling, GHC Heavyweight Championship in Pro Wrestling Noah. But really, like his theme song is just amazing. Has an incredible piano intro. Like just a few notes from the piano, I hear it. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna be an amazing match. When I heard this, when I would watch his entrance and then see the match that follows, I was like, okay, Kobashi's coming out. He means business. It's gonna be an amazing match. It's gonna be a hard hitting match. A lot of chops, a lot of like, body, chest swelling. It's gonna be red. It's gonna be definitely an incredible match. But yeah, just a few notes from the piano, and then he goes into full band comes in. Definitely feels like an inspirational theme song as well. And just a quick recommendations if you're gonna watch a Kenta Kobashi match, the two ones that come to mind is Kenta Kobashi versus Samoa Joe, which happened in ROH in 2005. It was Kenta Kobashi's, I believe, debut in America in ROH or just in general. But the match took place in ROH in 2005. This match, they beat the shit out of each other. Like Joe is no slouch. And, like Kobashi was like suplexing him everywhere, like chopping the crap out of him. But Joe definitely held his own, fired right back at Kobashi. What makes this match so appealing, I think, and worth watching, which could be a unique experience, I would say, is that the match was released without any commentary. So all you hear is the crowd reaction.
That's good.
And the crowd is like losing their minds to seeing a Japanese legend in the States wrestle Samoa Joe, who at that time, ROH, 2005, like Samoa Joe he's like their guy. Samoa Joe is like the number one guy in ROH in terms of like, he put the company on his back. He was a record ROH champion for 645 days. But like, so he's kind of like the ace of ROH against, I guess I'll say the ace as well of All Japan Pro Wrestling from the 90s and then Pro Wrestling Noah in 2000s. And that match you have to see just because the crowd loses their minds for like everything, any little thing. It doesn't matter what they did. They just stared at each other. The crowd is losing their minds. They do like a simple, I don't know, if you do a simple move, the crowd loses their shit. It's like it didn't matter. The crowd was just so happy to see Kobashi and just so happy to see Kobashi chopping someone as well. So watch that, and also watch Kobashi versus Jun Akiyama, 2004 GHC title, incredible match. So yeah, Kobashi's the guy. He's the man.
All right. Nice.
Plenty of other themes that I like. I told you plenty of WWE ones. Triple H, Stone Cold, all great themes.
Oh yeah,
not just elsewhere. I love
Yeah, no, it's good. It's sometimes good to hear about the obscure matches, songs as well. But no, it's good. It was really good. Alex, have anything you want to add?
No, I guess it's an hour and a half. I mean, we should. I don't know.
All right. All right. No, you're going to be back here soon.
Okay, good. I know. Definitely we can have more discussions on music.
For sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And welcome to Dirty Four in the Ring. In case you didn't know what it is, it's from WWE Money in the Bank. But this is Dirty Four Money in the Bank. I said ring. Don't worry, folks. That's why I have the Luca here. So, I could test some words, some waters. And that's it. So he's going to be back here. And don't forget to see us on Wednesday nights, Jofo in the Ring AEW Dynamite review, and this is gonna happen often, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for having me, Claudio.
Hey, no problem. So, Alex, really quickly, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, you can find me every Wednesday, mostly Jofo in the Ring, Wednesday night at 10:15 on YouTube for the AEW Dynamite review podcast. I'm on Twitter at AlexDElite1. I don't have too much, but every once in a while, if we show up, go to a wrestling show, I'll post something or something wrestling related. Definitely follow me if you want to. Follow me there at AlexDElite1, and of course follow Jofo in the Ring to keep up to date. And yeah,
That's
and
it. All
hopefully
right.
I'll be back here soon. So
You'll be
enjoy.
back here. So welcome, Dirty Four.
Yes.
Money in the bank. Have yourselves a good day and have a good weekend. And we'll be back here. Alex, see you soon on Joe Full in the Ring AEW Dynamite Review.
Later, Claudio.
Have a good day, everybody. Like, share.